Mel Gibson exposed Hollywood's Epstein's connection.
It got full of the whole industry. I mean, it's a very strange place, Hollywood. But it's an odd place. And you imagine all these horror stories there that you think, boy, it seems as if I'm being sacrificed over here. No, that couldn't be true. And then you realize that it is true. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real.
For years, Hollywood painted Mel Gibson as this crazy, washed-up actor who lost his mind. And honestly, most of us thought he was done, but then the Epstein files dropped. And suddenly, the things Mel Gibson had been saying for decades started making a whole lot of sense.
It is sad to see. But, you know, as always, I don't think it's the institution that's at fault. I think it's a lot of the people that get in it. And, you know, institution's good or as bad as the people in it running it, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's having a bit of a rugged time at the moment. And I think there's going to need to be a house cleaning, and it's going to have to come back to some sort of equilibrium.
The conversation that began with Mel Gibson has now picked up momentum with Denzel Washington participation. The two powerful actors have now united to investigate the inner workings of the entertainment industry. And as per their recent claims, their goal is to get to the bottom of things and verify the truth of the allegations, which include some actors who are allegedly considered to be child exploiters, while others are involved with Illuminati.
So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth.
To understand what's really going on here, we need to go back to the beginning. This was the late 1970s, early 1980s. Mel was on the verge of becoming one of the biggest movie stars in the world, but from the moment he stepped into Hollywood, something felt wrong. In a 1998 interview, he compared his early experience of meeting Epstein to a classic vampire movie.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways, through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, you know, so he's very, you know, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in a chair next to me. And it kind of frightened me. I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book. And he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. And and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Mel admitted that he started forming opinions about the industry and the people running it, and yet, instead of staying quiet and protecting his career, he did something that very few people in his position would ever dare to do. According to reports, Mel Gibson sat down with Corey Feldman at the Santa Barbara Police Department in 1993 and provided them with specific names of individuals they believed were connected to a child operating within Hollywood. Mel even gave the authorities direct information and put it on record. Years later, Feldman also referenced this moment publicly in his interview.
I told the police. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993, when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information.
Now, nothing came out of it. There were no major arrests or public investigations. The names he provided simply disappeared into a file somewhere, and Hollywood elites continued on as if nothing had happened. But while the police may not have acted, the industry certainly took notice. Mel Gibson had done something unforgivable in the eyes of the Hollywood folks. He had refused to play along, and in an industry built on silence and loyalty, that kind of behavior doesn't go unpunished. He didn't fully understand it at the time, but by coming forward, he had placed a target on his back. The people he tried to expose weren't going to forget. They were simply going to wait for the right moment.
Hollywood looked like a normal thing in front of our eyes, but deep down, at its core, there are lots of evil things inside it. That's why we're understanding right now, nowadays, you know, with the release of the files and stuff, with what's going on right now, you know, there are lots of things that are exposed, okay, including like Michael Jackson's accusation and stuff. Like, there are lots of artists out there, there are lots of actors, musicians and stuff who were in the Hollywood industry that were exposing a lot of things. People were calling them conspiracy theorists and stuff, but now things are being revealed to us. This is the reason why Mel Gibson is not working that much right now. The reason is because they don't want to be exposed. Okay, he was exposing their agendas and stuff, so they don't want that to happen. That's the reason why he's not as active as he used to be. Not because he's not a good actor, he's a very good actor, but they are not allowing him to be involved that much in this movie making and stuff. That's the reason why.
Sir, get out of the car, please. Get in the car.
What do you want?
Get in, sir.
What the do you want?
Please step out of the car, Mr. Gibson. Malibu PD, sir.
What the are you filming? Tell me something.
In July 2006, Mel Gibson was pulled over in Malibu for driving under the influence. It happens to celebrities all the time. Usually they pay a fine, issue an apology, maybe do a short stint in rehab, and life goes on. But for Mel Gibson, this wasn't just a DUI. This was the end. What happened during that arrest became headline news around the world. Mel made comments that were offensive, and within days, he went from being one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood to being completely blacklisted.
Yes, I mean, the guy is very powerful, so I don't think he's very afraid of losing anything in his career. But I think, and Hollywood is very well managed by Jew, as you know. And so I don't think he's going to have a very simple life from now on, because I think he actually thinks what he said, even if he said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But, in vino veritas, we said in Italy, which means when you're drunk, you tell the truth.
Now, you could say he brought it on himself with those comments, but there's another way to look at it. Think about how many celebrities have had DUIs. Think about how many people have said terrible things in public. Think about how many have done far worse and still kept their careers. Hollywood has forgiven a lot of people for a lot of things. So why was Mel Gibson treated differently? The answer might have something to do with the years leading up to that night in Malibu. The 1993 police interview. The things he said in 1998 about Hollywood being a dark place.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, weird town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go to the house on the hill. And it's like that.
Mel turned out to be a problem for the Hollywood establishment. He talked too much. He didn't play by the rules. He made powerful people uncomfortable. Even before the 2006 incident, Mel had already proven that he could survive without Hollywood's approval. And the best example of that is a film that almost didn't get made, The Passion of the Christ. Let's go back to the early 2000s. Mel had an idea for a movie. He wanted to tell the story of the final hours of Jesus Christ, so he took it to the studios, and every single one of them said no. No major studio in Hollywood wanted anything to do with it. Most people would have walked away at that point, but Mel didn't walk away. Instead, he did something that almost no one in his position would ever consider. He funded the entire film himself. We're talking about $30 million out of his own pockets for production, another $15 million for marketing. This wasn't just a movie for him, it was a mission, and the production itself was filled with strange events. Lead actor Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, was struck by lightning during filming. So was assistant director Jan Michelini. These weren't minor incidents. They were the kind of things that made people on set feel like they were part of something bigger than just a film. When The Passion of the Christ was finally released in 2004, Hollywood expected it to fail. They had rejected it for a reason, after all. How could a subtitled film about the crucifixion, with no major studio backing, compete in the mainstream market? However, The Passion of the Christ became the highest grossing R-rated film of all time at that point. It made over $600 million worldwide. Gibson had proven something that the industry didn't want to admit. He didn't need them. He could fund his own projects, distribute them independently, and reach audiences directly. Hollywood's gatekeepers had been bypassed completely, and that made him a threat. Almost immediately after the film's success, a new wave of attacks began. Critics accused the movie of being anti-Semitic. They claimed it portrayed Jewish people in a negative light. Whether you agree with those criticisms or not, the timing is hard to ignore. For years, Mel had been making the industry uncomfortable. He had talked openly about the dark side of Hollywood, and now he had made a film that proved he could succeed without them. Suddenly, everyone had something negative to say about him. Was it genuine concern? Or was it a coordinated effort to tear down someone who had become too outspoken on his own terms? Whatever the answer, the attacks didn't stop Mel. In fact, they only seemed to push him further, because the next chapter of his story involves another film, one that would hit even closer to home when the Epstein files finally came out.
Bro, this is crazy. Like, this is what they do. They always do. Like, they attack the person that doesn't align with them. Just like what they did with Michael Jackson. They always accuse him of different kind of things. In fact, he was protecting children, and they were accusing him for doing evil things to children. And similarly with Mel Gibson, they were attacking him for different kind of issues. Okay, people drive while they are drunk in many occasions. There are many celebrities who were caught doing such kind of things, but it wouldn't be so hard for them to get out of jail for doing such kind of thing. But when it comes to Mel Gibson, when you're not aligning with them, okay, they will accuse you of things whether you do those things or not. They will find a way to accuse you of doing such kind of things. So that's the reality. That's the reality.
I feel like I'm being stripped down and prepared for something else. Now that's maybe very personal, but I feel like the Almighty's preparing me to do something big.
After the Passion of the Christ, something interesting happened. Mel Gibson wasn't just a blacklisted actor anymore. He had become a symbol of fighting against a system that tried to silence him, and he wasn't alone. One of the most important relationships to come out of the Passion was between Mel and his lead actor, Jim Caviezel. Playing Jesus Christ in that film wasn't just a role for him. It changed his life, and it changed his career in ways he probably didn't expect. After the Passion, Jim found himself in a similar position to Mel. He started speaking openly about what he had seen in Hollywood. He talked about the darkness in the industry. He talked about the things that powerful people didn't want the public to know. And just like Mel, he paid the price. His career slowed down, offers dried up. He went from being the star of one of the biggest films in history to struggling to get mainstream roles. But the connection between Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel only grew stronger. So when it came time to make another film that Hollywood didn't want to touch, it made sense that these two would be involved, and that film was Sound of Freedom.
Out of nowhere, she starts talking. Turns out she's not 25, not even 20. This girl is 14 years old, Timoteo.
Released in 2023, Sound of Freedom told the story of Tim Ballard, a former government agent who dedicated his life to rescuing children from trafficking networks. Jim played the lead role, and Mel Gibson was instrumental in supporting and promoting the project. Just like The Passion, this film had trouble finding studio backing. The subject matter was too uncomfortable. It exposed things that Hollywood folks didn't want exposed. And so, once again, the filmmakers had to find alternative ways to get it made and distributed. They launched a grassroots campaign, a pay-it-forward ticket system where people could buy tickets for strangers who couldn't afford them. And once again, Hollywood was proven wrong. Sound of Freedom grossed over $250 million worldwide on a budget of just $14.5 million. The plot of Sound of Freedom centers on fake modeling scouts who lure children with promises of fame and opportunity. It shows elite networks operating across international borders. It depicts a system designed to exploit the most vulnerable, while those in power look the other way. At the time, people watched it as a dramatic thriller, a story based on real events, sure, but still a movie. Then the Epstein files dropped, and suddenly, Sound of Freedom didn't look like fiction anymore. The fake talent scouts, the powerful networks, the systematic failure to protect children. It was all there, not on a movie screen, but in official government documents. What Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel had been trying to tell people through their films wasn't conspiracy, it was a harsh reality.
I can say one thing. I showed it in Vegas, and there was 5 screenings, about 1,500 people that saw it. During the 5 screenings, each screening, there was a talking going on. And I was like watching the audience going, what? The second time it happened. Again, third time, talking in this one particular spot. And I'm thinking, what, did we do something wrong or something? But so then one more time it happened. At the end, I was asking about the movie, and I asked them about that one particular part where everybody's talking, and they all cried out Epstein Island. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand what we're up against. Epstein Island isn't the only sex island out there. And Tim Ballard takes down one of the films.
On January 30th, 2026, the Department of Justice released over 3 million files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and the names that surfaced were exactly the kind of names you'd expect. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and former White House counsel Kathy Rimler. The documents also revealed ties to Hollywood. Casey Wasserman, one of the most prominent talent agents in the industry and the chairman of LA 2028, appeared in the files. Photographs were released showing Prince Andrew with women connected to Epstein's operation. And then there were the details that most outlets couldn't even fully describe.
Mr. Epstein, how long have you been attracted to underage minor females? Are you kidding? No, I mean, I don't feel like I'm divulging any secrets here, right?
Epstein was tight with this guy named Jean-Luc Brunel, who ran something called MC2 Model Management. The documents show Brunel was basically recruiting young women for Epstein's operation. He visited Epstein in jail at least 70 times during his 2008 sentence.
So this is it, when you attack them, when you do things that oppose them, they will fight back. That's the point right there. Okay. They make different kind of movies, but they don't want to make religious movies that goes against their value. Okay. Like Jesus Christ, they don't want to make such kind of movie. But the movie went so big they didn't expect that to happen. And also, like The Passion of Christ, it went very great for them, for Mel Gibson and the team, the crew. And also, they made a movie, The Freedom, and it went very good for them. Okay. And people think that it's just a movie, but now, like with the release of Epstein files, it makes a lot of sense. And like, it's not conspiracy theory anymore. These things are not conspiracy theories anymore. These things are happening in front of us in the real world, in the world we live in. These things are happening in front of our eyes. So we cannot deny them as conspiracy theories anymore. They are real. They are in front of us. These things are being exposed in front of us. So for those of you who think these are conspiracy theories, these are not. These are happening in front of our eyes. Okay, they have their own agenda, they have their own propaganda, they have their own system. So whoever goes against that will get punished. That's how it works. So at least we have to try to make our world a better place rather than being controlled by a bunch of people and everybody is obedient to them and stuff. We don't want such kind of system. We want the system to be good for everyone. Okay, that's what we want right here. So that's what we are promoting right here, and support it. That's what we want to say. So we have to stand up for those artists, for those celebrities who stand up for the truth. Okay, Mel Gibson, Michael Jackson, and others. We want them. Like Michael Jackson is gone, so we have to understand others who stand up. So that's what I want to say. Anyways, that's it for now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Write down your comments. Till next time. Peace and blessings. Good.